Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Biz Talks. My name is Rick Gutierrez. I am your host and your business advocate. We are excited to be back with you. We've got a great lineup of business professionals, business owners that are going to be on the show and providing us with insights, tips, tricks to business and their very own line of business themselves. And so without further ado, I want to really use this time very effectively because we've got one of our favorite immigration attorneys that we're going to be interviewing today, and she is visiting us, and we're just have all kinds of questions for her to be able to educate ourselves a little bit more as to what's going on in the world of immigration law and all those great things. So Tahmina Watson, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Rick. I'm so honored and grateful to be here.
Absolutely. I am glad that we got you back on the show. I know that 2025's got a lot in store in terms of immigration and all of those folks that are, seeking status and all of those great things. So I know that you are the perfect person that can lead us into a conversation where we can learn a little bit more about the changes for 2025. We've got an inauguration happening for the new president-elect. It's going to take place in about a week or so. So we've got a lot going on in those realms, and we just kind of want to pick your brain when it comes to, local economies depend a lot on the workforce, people working all the time, right? So hopefully we can dive a little bit into that and tell us what's going on and what's going to happen for 2025. So, but before we get to any of that, let's talk a little bit more about your particular law firm, where you guys are located, how we can get in touch with you and all those great things.
Well, thank you so much, Rick. I'm so excited to share some of my insights. My law firm is called Watson Immigration Law. We are in Seattle, Washington. However, for immigration, our clients are all around the country and all around the world. Because it's federal law, we don't necessarily need to be in the same area that our clients are in. So there are lots of clients that we've helped that I've never actually met in person. And of course, thanks to Zoom and COVID, I've now seen a lot of faces, but it was interesting that there were some faces that I had never seen, but I knew their voices very well. We file H-1B visas, O visas, green cards. We file for artists and musicians, for startup founders, entrepreneurs. We also do religious visas. A lot of our clients are temples and mosques and churches. So you name the business visa, we file those, and we can help anyone, anywhere.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for showcasing that. You mentioned Seattle, Washington, but you have clients all over the country. And just like in any city, local economies are important, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the impact of small businesses to local economies and how immigration law and particularly changes in immigration law with the new president coming on board. What do you see that are going to be some of the challenges for small businesses to help those local economies?
Such a great question. And we are in sort of a wait and see mode. But before I go into the wait and see mode, let me just describe two or three different types of examples. It is so right, Rick, that the small businesses are the backbone of the American economy. And often these small businesses are right in your local area, in my local area. So I'll give you some examples. There are clients who have started their own companies, and it could be any company. It could be a tech company, it could be a restaurant. The one example is during COVID, a lot of businesses suffered, and immigrant entrepreneurs, business owners were able to save them. So one of my clients saved one of the beloved coffee shops in downtown Seattle, for example. There are those types of businesses. There are also small businesses, you call it a local, health clinic, for example. They hire foreign talent. So the difference is, are you a business owner who is hiring foreign talent, or are you the foreign talent hiring local workforce? And these two different categories of people will be affected potentially by changes that we anticipate in the near future. So what kind of changes might we anticipate? That will depend on what happens in the, after the inauguration, Rick.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads into my next question, because I was going to ask you about the key challenges that you've seen some of your clients already facing when navigating those immigration pathways for employment. And I appreciate you sharing that, because it's an important topic, because you're right, they are the backbone, but small businesses are the backbone of America, we believe, and it's important that we're able to provide that assistance and that help. So how do you see recent policy updates influencing the recruitment of international talent in the near future?
Mm-hmm. And I want people to think about sort of a line of before January 20th and after. So in the last few months, particularly in the last few weeks leading up to Christmas and now, the current administration is putting a lot of regulation and policy updates to help particular types of visa categories, like the O1 visa. This is for people who have excelled in their professional development, and they can get an O visa. And just in the last few days, the Biden administration has made updates to specifically allow founders of companies to be able to prove that their businesses can support them and employ them. So there are currently the O visa has been updated. There's been a visa called a J visa. The J visa is an important visa category where people from different countries can come to the United States and train in an area that they have no experience in. But often some countries would be subject to what's called a 2-year residency rule, meaning that if they finish their visa program, they must go back to their home country before they can come back on a different visa category. So the Biden administration has removed some of those barriers. So people from India, China, I don't know if Mexico's on that list. I'll have to double check. But these people from these countries can actually come to the United States and actually stay here with different visa requirements, and their 2-year ban has gone away. The H-1B visa is going through some regulatory changes. Anybody who pays attention to the news will know that during Christmas, there were a lot of national debates on H-1Bs. So there are some policies that are happening right now to strengthen the visa requirements and the evidence that you can submit, particularly for AI and the critical technology infrastructure that is coming up. So these policies hopefully will strengthen whatever changes we may see on January 21st and beyond. And we do expect some of those changes to happen pretty quickly, Rick.
Okay. Well, it's good that you share that, so that way folks can start preparing for what could happen as soon as January 21st. And speaking of January 21st, I mean, you are in the field of immigration law. So have you heard anything in terms about how real is the closing of the border as soon as Mr. Trump takes over? Have you heard anything, or do you think that will happen?
Yes, immigration lawyers are talking among themselves a lot about what we anticipate. And, we are privy to the same news that everybody else is, but we have to interpret that and use that for preparation. So our understanding is that there are executive orders that are being reviewed. And if people remember what happened in 2020, there were bans for people from coming to the United States from certain countries. We expect those types of bans to go in. I have been talking to some of my clients, and this is, something that a lot of universities are doing. They're suggesting that visa holders come back into the United States if you're traveling before January 20th, so that you do not inadvertently become subject to any bans. Or even if the ban doesn't actually affect you directly, you get caught up in the chaos. What we saw in 2020 is a lot of people who are, trying to board flights, people who are airborne, people who are just landing, they all got caught up in the chaos of who's banned and who's not banned. So if you have a visa, it is a conservative sort of guidance to maybe just come back. But we anticipate executive orders and policy changes in how visas are going to be adjudicated. There was an executive order called Buy American, Hire American. And even though that executive order didn't say much other than hire American, we saw far-reaching adjudication policy changes from that one sentence, because it started to scrutinize every aspect of every business visa. So we anticipate a trickle down of these executive orders into how visas are looked upon. Now, Rick, you mentioned border closing. There will also likely be a lot of policy changes regarding how people who are coming to our borders are going to be treated. And I know you're in Texas. I'm in Washington State, a border adjoining state. So we do anticipate a lot of changes going in immediately. And I think what people need to do is, we have a blog at our office on our website called www.watsonimmigrationlaw.com. We have a blog, we write about these things, but people should really make sure that they keep abreast of the news. If you have a visa, make sure you're in close communication with your immigration lawyer. If you are a business owner, and you have visa holders in your, staffing portfolio, maybe stay in touch with your immigration lawyer. But staying abreast of the news is going to be very, very important.
All right, Tahmina, when we're having a great conversation, it typically goes by really quick. And I know that this time has gone by really quick, but we've come to the end of the segment. And I want to thank you so much for coming on board and educating us more on this topic, as these changes are coming up in the near future. And we can't wait to hear more on when we have you on the show again. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Rick. So grateful.
Absolutely. Oh, it's always a great conversation. All right, folks, we are going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with another guest. Stay right there.